This is David Hartful from Black Leadership Analysis. Today I want to speak to you about the Moynihan Report on the Black family. Daniel Patrick Moynihan was a sociologist that studied the connection between welfare and unemployment. He is credited for discovering the Moynihan scissors. The scissors describes the departure of black unemployment and aid to family-independent children assistance, which was welfare in the 1960s. From 1948 to 1962, black unemployment and AFDC aid had a 91% correlation. In 60, 63, and 64, they began to diverge. The report was leaked after the Riots riots because people wanted to know what happened. U.S. Department of Labor leaked this document where Moynihan served as Assistant Secretary in 1963. The report concluded that jobs programs alone is not enough to reduce black dependency on welfare. The Watts riots made the report even more popular because people didn't understand how these riots were still happening after so many victories in the civil rights movement. Conservatives cite the report to prove that government can't solve black poverty. Only individual effort and decision-making can make a difference. Liberals decry the document as a racist and sexist, as it presupposes black culture is fundamentally deficient and male-led households are superior. Today we'll get to the bottom of the report. Moynihan actually concluded that centuries of oppression had caused black family to adopt a matriarchal model. Since most of society was based off patriarchy, it was difficult for black families to integrate into the greater society. Men had a hard time finding steady work, which led to their alienation in the family and the greater society. This alienation led to a tangle of pathology that led poor black people to enter a spiral of failure. So the solution would be a comprehensive government set of policies targeted at getting black men employment and promoting the family. Conservatives have perverted this message as a call for no government intervention. The root cause of black poverty is the fall of the black family. Then there's nothing that the government could do to fix this problem. People have to just decide to turn their life around on their own. So individuals should just simply adopt a conservative value set and pull themselves up by their bootstraps. On the other hand, liberals have decried the report as just simply racist. It assumes that the differences between black and white families prove white families are superior. It also claims that the report is saying that male-led households are naturally superior to female-led households. Other liberals take a more statistical approach and say that since there's only 3 years of data on this divergence, it doesn't prove anything or disprove the previous 20 years of correlation. This report still reverberates today, and we have to understand its implications for the future. The report attempts to find the root cause of the race problem in America. It postulates that multi-generational oppression morphed the black family into the matriarchal model you see today. This matriarchal model is detrimental to black boys and difficult to integrate into the rest of society. Therefore, furthering gaps in education, wealth, and crime are rooted in this matriarchal model. The study does admit to some shortcomings as it is a composite of other studies. Some of the studies compare blacks to whites. Other studies compare whites to non-whites. The latter runs the risk of skewing data meant for black people with recent immigrants from Asia and Latin America. The report begins with a brief introduction of explaining what the black American plight is and how it's affected American politics. They then go on to frame the Negro American Revolution, now known as the Civil Rights Movement. The next topic is how the Negro American family differs from the white family due to its matriarchal structure. The section titled Roots of the Problem explains how slavery and Jim Crow emasculated black men and removed them as head of the household. This led to a tangle of pathology that grew gaps in wealth, education, and crime. These gaps continue today. It ends with a call to national action to remedy this problem. The Negro American Revolution. This short introduction explains how there's a growing revolution demanding equal opportunity in the Negro community. There's also a split in the black community between upperly mobile, middle-class black people and lower-class workers who find it more and more difficult to find work. The methods used in other communities will not work here. Methods used in the white community won't work. There need to be new policies specifically aimed at improving and building the black family. The commission that created the report said that the majority of the events needed in the civil rights movement had already passed. The first was the formation of the movement itself, then it was adopted by Kennedy, and the American public co-signed the movement by the re-election of LBJ in 1964. Since then, there's been the Manpower Act, the Equal Opportunity Act, and other acts and bills designed to fight poverty and discrimination. The two most important events, the 64 Civil Rights Bill and the 65 Voting Rights Act, were not specifically mentioned in the report. Now the movement has to decide between liberty and equality. Liberty means that all people have an equal shot at improving their life. Liberty implies that there will be a competition, and through the competition there will be winners and losers. Equality means that everyone ends up in the same results. Moynihan specifically mentions Bernard Rustin as a man that wants equality of results. Most whites see discrimination as an overt banning of black people from opportunity. Most don't know how oppression affected the black American family because very few know a black family intimately. In 1963, 3% of white children were born illegitimately, as opposed to 24% of black children. A woman headed an eighth of the households, the white households, whereas a woman headed a quarter of black households. The majority of AFDC dependents were single mothers with children from more than one man. High unemployment also destabilized the black community. The average unemployment for blacks was around 9%, but 29% of black people faced unemployment at some time during the year. Because men couldn't find stable employment, they couldn't serve as head of household, and the state had to come in and fill the gaps through welfare. Now there is also a growing black middle class that's statistically more patriarchal than their white counterparts. A black household headed by a professional man has 4/5 of children of a similarly headed white household. The black middle class represents about half the race, so their advancements can mask any detriment falling to the lower class black people. Despite their affluence, they live next to the slums. So their children can easily fall back into the street life, and most will have to refight the battles that their parents had already won. American slavery was the worst institution of slavery in the world. Moynihan brought up a study where he compared Brazilian slavery to American slavery. In Brazil, a slave could join the Catholic Church, free an infant for a small fee. His family couldn't be broken up, and he was given time to make money independently. None of these provisions were in American slavery. Protestants didn't believe humans could hold other humans in bondage, so they had to see slaves as subhuman. During Nazi internment, many Jews regressed into childishness. They began to see SS officers as father figures. As a result, the pathology they grew into was very similar to the Sambo stereotype. It's not unreasonable to believe that blacks in America could build similar pathologies. During Reconstruction and segregation, black men were targeted. Not only were their job prospects reduced, but they were under constant humiliation. This humiliation caused an emasculation that led them to succeed much of their power that they had in the household. This pattern continues today. Moving to the North and West didn't fix anything for most black people. It was just as difficult to find work in the North and West. So many married black men couldn't afford a divorce if their marriages went south. As a result, many of them just simply abandoned the household. Black unemployment has been at near disaster levels for 35 years. So it's not unreasonable to think that the state of Black America would be what it is today. Tangle of pathology. The fact Black people survived slavery and Jim Crow is a testament to their strength. However, the matriarchal model that emerged afterwards can't be integrated into the greater society. Now, middle-class Black people are actually more conservative and patriarchal than their white counterparts. Even with all this, most live near the slums. So policy proposals focused on poor Black people is what we need to move forward. The matriarchal society also caused a disparity between Black men and Black women. Black women usually have more education and more job prospects, and this is a result of them doing better in school. This disparity between Black men and Black women is something that adds to the detriment of Black men. Black fathers being missing from the household reduces children's self-esteem because they have no knowledge of family history and where they start in the world. IQ scores in Black students are low, 87.7. That means a third are scoring in the level of retardation. The study also found that IQ scores of Black people in better socioeconomic positions is higher, and also children that had fathers in the home is higher. This relatively higher scores of Black people in better socioeconomic conditions points to environment affecting IQ and not an innate deficiency in Black people's intelligence. The report ends with a call to national action. A specific set of policies was not endorsed. However, it did briefly mention changing wages and government benefits to give more money to people with families, and changing military testing requirements to allow more Black people to join. Thank you for watching this segment in Black Leadership Analysis. Please join on WordPress and our Facebook group with the same name. You can also give through PayPal at sdnrace@gmail.com. I think this was really important to talk about during the Watts Riot series, because this report became so famous because of the Watts riots, because people were trying to get to the root of what's still causing these riots after the Voting Rights Bill and Civil Rights Act of '64 had already been passed. So I'm glad you watched it, and we'll have more on Moynihan and Watts later on.